welcome to the program on Blockleaders with me, Gillian Gottsell. Today, I'm delighted to welcome, especially given the week that's in it, Gracy Chen, who is the Managing Director of Bitget. Gracy, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is amazing. Now, looking through your CV, it's very impressive. In summary, on your LinkedIn, it says current TV host, crypto nerd, and world traveler. Would you like to give me some highlights of your career? That's just the synopsis.
Sure. I graduated from my undergrads in applied mathematics in Singapore. That was 10 years ago. My first job down the street was a TV anchor. That's why you see that that TV experience there. So when I was a TV journalist, I had a friend who said to me, Gracie, you should check out Bitcoin 10 years ago. And I think at that time, Bitcoin price, when I bought it, it's about $300. Right now, look at where we are today. I started off as that TV journalist, worked for 1.5 years, interviewed some very interesting people, some business leaders, and as well as lots of celebrities. For example, I interviewed Tom Hiddleston and Michelle Yeoh, last year's Oscar winner, the best actress. So had lots of fun. But after 1.5 years, I realized I'm not satisfied with this like a celebrity bubble that I was living in, and I want to make some true impact. I want to get my hands dirty. So I joined a fintech firm as co-founder and chief marketing officer, coming from my TV and like journalism background. That was an interesting switch, like from I think that's like the two sides of the coin. Like one side, I was in the journalism industry, interviewing lots of business leaders, and on the other side, I was a business leader, dealing with journalism. So there was a switch, a fintech firm that I started in 2015, 16-ish, and it's still ongoing. It was a taxation sort of settlement business in China. Like we were doing tax and salary settlement for freelancers in China. And until today, like I think in the year of 2023, our yearly GMV is about 8 billion USD. So it's a unicorn already. But I did that for like 3 years. Then I started my own VR firm. VR didn't kick off. That was
You were too soon. You were too soon.
Yeah, exactly. So I think even until today, probably it's still very hard. Like my VR folks, yesterday they were texting me like Bitcoin increased so much, but we're still in the VR industry. I'm glad that Gracie, you move on. Anyway, so when I was being an entrepreneur, I invested in crypto a lot. So in 2022, one of my portfolio companies, which is called what was called Bitget, and now it's rebranded to Bitget Wallet. So that I get to know the Bitget founder and the main team through that investment. And when they were looking for someone to lead the marketing team, they reached out to their investors, said, if you have a good candidate, let us know. And I was like, how about myself?
Brilliant.
Volunteered myself, and here we are.
Do you know something that's interesting? Because women are often very slow to say, me, pick me, pick me. We're kind of reluctant to do that. So that's pretty impressive. And I'm not surprised because reading through your achievements too as well, since you have been managing director of Bitget, you've 4x'd the user base. Their growth is huge. And it's a very competitive marketplace. I think you're now in the top 5 crypto exchanges. To what do you attribute the success and the growth of the user base?
Of course, it is a teamwork, and we have grown from when I joined the firm, only 200 people in the firm, to where we are today in terms of we have 1,500 employees in the firm. So it's a huge growth from the team size perspective as well as the user size. But I would say there are a few things that we did correctly in the previous bear market. First of all, we stick in the bear market, right? Like lots of people just give up easily. We saw FUDs, like there are exchanges who just, took their users' money and run away. But we have been growing and building since 5 years ago, actually nearly 6 years already. That Bitget started in the year of 2018. So we've seen the bear market before, so we know how to pace ourselves in the bear market. And actually, when I joined the firm, I think only 1 month I was interviewed by CoinDesk, and they were asking me about how do you look at the bear market. And since then I kept saying, I think bear market is the golden window for growth. Why? All the assets are cheaper, and the people stick at this industry during bear market are the real builders, are the real person who really wants to make an impact. And that's why we stick with it and we continue building things that we think our users need. For example, we put lots of emphasis on protection and security. This is especially important after FTX collapse. Like all people care mostly when they are using exchanges is safety and security. So we have the second largest protection fund in our industry. The biggest is Binance Afu, and our protection fund right now is valued at more than 500 million, actually nearly 600 million, I think 580, depends on the Bitcoin price fluctuation. But basically, we have opened like 6 open wallets, put it there so that our users can check, oh, that's the real money out there. In USDT, USDC, and Bitcoin, not even Ethereum, definitely not our platform token, BGB either. So we want to make sure our users feel comfortable putting their money there because with us or like trading with us, because they know we are a big exchange and we emphasize on transparency and security. So I think that's the number 2 thing that we did correctly. Then the number 3, I would say luck, because I actually signed up Leo Messi. That's one of the
I
most
was going to
important.
look at that. How did you do that? How did that come about?
Yeah, so we when I joined again, that was 2022. We know that that is the year of the World Cup, and when that happened in the end of the year, everyone will look at World Cup, and that's the world's focal point. So we look at a short list of teams that we want to work with and a short list of individuals that we want to work with. And then that pinned down to Leo Messi, because he's not just a great footballer, he's also a good leader, a good father, and a good captain in his team. Of course, he has very good reputation around the world. He's famous, but I think it's not just about being famous or capable of football, but also a lot about his reputation and credibility that we want to work with him.
Yeah,
exactly. But why I say luck? Because I guess in the year 2022, not a lot of people would think Argentina can win the world champion, right? Like for World Cup. And I was in Qatar for the final and as well as the semifinal that Messi was playing, because he's our ambassador and I want to support him. So I was literally crying when I watched the final. And I guess many of us in front of the TV or in that stadium feel the same, that we see the ups and downs and how competitive that match is, as well as really feel proud for him.
Wow. You're very modest as well, but it was clever that you got the right man, the right team. Perhaps could have been an element of luck, but I think you're right. He comes across as being very trustworthy. Even people who are outside the football world will say, yeah, he seems a good bloke. That's really cool. So then tell me, the week that's in it, we're talking about women in Web3. All right. So you've come an it's an unusual route, journalism and TV, to being a managing director of an exchange. It's quite a gap. Normally, your route as a woman might have been as a CMO as opposed to be the managing director. So that's a different stage. Did you ever aspire to be like a CMO, or did you always say no, managing director?
So actually I did had my the founder of Bitget asking me whether I want to be CMO. But we later on decided I'll just stick with managing director, largely because I'm not just doing marketing. Since December last year, I also start to manage our listing team. Like on exchanges, listing is very important because you want to have enough tokens for your users to trade, but not much, so that there are some tokens that are not trustworthy or not real builders. So that picking up like who do we want to list is an art and science, and there's lots of BD involvement as well as lots of like research and managing our users' experience, sort of like operational role. So it's a very well-rounded job in terms of what my goal is to provide the best tokens for our users to trade and grow that user base continually, as what I did before.
Okay, no, very interesting. Okay, so back to the women thing, because we're in International Women's Day is on Friday the 8th. And to ask the question for you, do you see is there an issue of gender diversity in tech in general and Web3 in particular?
Gender diversity, I think it is an issue here because we actually did a research. My team realized that in our crypto world, only 6.34% of the overall funding are with female-led startups. So even if there are 37% of the holders are females, so 37% female holders, but only 6% female entrepreneurs who got funding. So that's a big discrepancy that we see here. And that's why we want to come up with Blockchain for Her, which is a CSR program that we have. CSR is a corporate social responsibility. But basically, we want to empower more female entrepreneurs, especially, and support some female-led blockchain projects.
And how does that benefit the Web3 world, having women founders in there? What does it offer?
Well, I guess for any world, we want to see more gender diversity and equity. So in Web3, what it started off, right? Like, for example, Bitcoin. It started off as this decentralized value creation and value sort of like storage platform or tool, but it grew to a whole industry where we see today. So that kind of like decentralization and democracy there, I think is very important. It's like a key spirit or core spirit in our industry. And having more female in the space, it means we have, people have different diversity, different points of view, gender-wise, geographic-wise, background-wise. We just want to see more and more diversity. But the 6% digit, that number that we see there in terms of female-led startups having funding, I think this is just ridiculously low. And we want to change that and having more female in the space. I think just generally increase diversity. And also, if you look at, a family structure, etc., the wife or the mother's role is so important because she is not just about she herself, but about the whole family wealth management, but about educating the next generation.
Yes.
Things like that. So having this voice in our industry can benefit a lot more people than just the females itself.
Yeah, there's a lot of research that says when you educate women, give women financial literacy, it doesn't just benefit them or their family, it benefits the entire community. Because women put back, and I sounds, I'm not trying to down men or anything, but women, when they're educated and they have financial control and literacy, they do give back much more to the family and to the greater community. So it benefits everybody. That's pretty cool. So as personal experiences as a woman leader, have you encountered many problems or stereotypes, and how did you address them?
That's a great question, because that brings me back to a moment in my life when I started my own VR company, and I was raised funding for my firm. I did had a male, quite obviously, a male VC, venture capitalist, said something to me which impacted how I think about gender diversity totally. So that person said, Gracie, I like you, I like your project, but we don't invest in female entrepreneurs, especially those got married but had no kid yet. And that was my stage at that life. Right now, I do have a kid, but that doesn't change the stereotype
That's
there.
shockingly prescriptive, isn't it? You can't be
It
woman and
is.
you can be married but without children. That's weird. But it happened.
It happened, and also I appreciate his honesty, but still I feel so bad, and I
Mm,
feel it's not just him thinking that way. I think it's a structural problem. It's probably not just this one single VC, it's a lot of VCs thinking that a female entrepreneur is less capable, or once she had a kid she cannot dedicate to the work anymore, and the whole focal point will be shifted to family, things like that. But that's totally stereotype. For
mm,
example, in our firm at Bitget, we have 40% of our managers being female. We don't care whether they are married or not, they have a kid or not.
mm,
Actually, I also realize that many of my senior managers, for example, our company CPO, our company's current CEO,
mm,
myself, and some of the other firms that we invested in, they are all led by very capable females. Some of them have kids, some of them are married, don't have kids, some of them are not married, some of them are
mm,
divorced. Doesn't matter, because what we focus on here is whether that person brings value to the company, whether that's a great leader who can really make an impact and who really wants to build something. And that goes back to where we were talking about the bear market. And indeed, in the bear market, we see, people are more focused on building. Like these 3 days, I feel it's a bit crazy. Like
mm.
lots of noise in the
Yes.
market.
Yes.
Bitcoin had hit all-time high again, 69,000, and then goes down, goes up, or whatever. I also feel I'm a little bit like distracted by the market noise there. But
Mm.
when it's a bear market, and that's where we got all those talents in our firm, that we are really, focusing on building and providing the best user experience.
I think you're right. I mean, a bear market is tough. You're building, and there's lack of funds generally. Forget the price, lack of funds, but it's also everybody's kind of looking towards the bull market, and then it comes like, oh, there's so much going. It is very distractive. So, can we have a mid ground there someplace? Would be nice. Tell me, do you have any? Are there any female leaders that you've interacted with, or you've met, or you've seen at a distance that would inspire you? That you might look up to. Who could you number anybody or name anybody who might inspire you?
Sure. So in terms of, I do have lots of female friends.
Mm,
So actually 2 days later on the International Women's Day, we're going to have a Twitter space. So feel free to join us if you have time or
thank you.
your audience see this video before that, where I invited Tess, the founder of Tess Ventures. She
Mm,
is a Silicon Valley-based venture capitalist focused on Web3. And also Yev, she is the co-founder of Hacken. That's a auditing firm
yes.
in space that they do code auditing. She's based in Europe.
Mm,
And also Cecilia, she was the CEO of another exchange before joining Morph or starting Morph. Then Morph is a layer two that Bitget invested in, and she's based in Taiwan. So we have a huge diversity in terms of friends that I have, female leaders and founders and VCs in the space that I like or I cooperate with. Then from a distance, I do have a few interesting females that I haven't met or haven't become friends with, but I am aware of their existence and their impact in our industry. For example, entrepreneurs such as Elizabeth Stark. I think that's her surname. But she is the founder and CEO of Lightning Network. She
okay.
started
Yeah.
very early in the space. And also some VCs or investors such as Kathy Wood, such as Katie Hong. Katie Hong was I think she probably still remains a board of Coinbase, but she was a partner at A16Z. She started her own fund and raised 1.5 billion USD last year. So I think that's the largest female-led fund in our space, which I'm very proud of her.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it's good to know, isn't it? Because I think, they say what you can see, you can be, or if you can't see it, you can't be it. So it's important to have people out there, and it's good to be able to point to them. So people say, "Oh, who should I follow?" So, do you think what are the practices of empowering women in Web3? What can companies do, and what initiatives, perhaps? Well, you mentioned your own initiative. Perhaps tell me a bit more about that, because that helps women and encourages them to get into the space.
So how I view it is a like different approaches. So we have like, let's say from top down. First of all, like you said, we need to have our industry see them. Like you know that there are role models like that exist, and
Yeah.
you can, whatever I do want to be an entrepreneur or investor or NFT artist, whatever, you know that there is someone that you can look up to. So we have this first layer ambassador program where I invited lots of leaders like that to be our ambassador in order to advocate for gender diversity in blockchain and engage and drive that positive changes towards inclusivity. So this is the first layer. And the second layer, I would say, we call it Women in Blockchain Summit Awards. So this is an event and a series of awards, and that serve as a celebration and recognition of the achievements of women in the blockchain industry, and also create some networking opportunities, foster a sense of community. And then third layer, we also have something called Female Entrepreneur Incubation Program and pitch competitions. So these are the programs that tailor specifically for female entrepreneurs and provide them with necessary support, mentorship, and resources in order to succeed in the blockchain industry. So we want to host some pitch competitions for female-funded startups, and we want to offer this valuable platform for them to showcase their innovation and secure potential investments. Maybe some of my ambassadors, especially those VC investors, they can also join the incubation program as investors or judges. But basically, they have sort of like internally related one like different layers, but also have like different groups or different goals that they want to achieve. But these are some specific initiatives that we have. And by the way, this blockchain for her initiative, everything we call it together, blockchain for her. B4H. Sometimes I just do the short version of it. But we also want to invest 10 million USD. Bitget is providing this commitment, and we want to focus on promoting gender diversity and inclusivity within the blockchain industry.
That's impressive. And I like the way you're doing it at all levels. So you're taking in ambassadors at a senior level, bringing in startups and awards in the middle, because awards are very important. I know as a woman in this space, it's so important to be able to, it gives you credibility. You have won an award or you recognize the work that you do, which is cool. So how do you think, how can we encourage men to become better allies and advocates? What can we ask men to do?
Good question. I also think about that all the time. I guess there are two things. Number one, not just men and women, is when you look at a female leader, don't start by asking her, how do you balance between work and family? As a guy, like you've rarely encountered a question like that, right?
Yeah.
But when they see a female leader, they keep asking questions like this. I'm like, don't ask me, because why you don't ask that the other panelists sitting out there. So this, what I mean by this example is a change of mindset. We want guys to be involved, but we will also want the whole society to think there's no huge difference between men and women when it goes to family commitment. You should equally contribute. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I do want to involve guys in this initiative as well. For example, actually before starting Blockchain for Her in 2020, right in the COVID, I actually started another similar project called She Shapes under the global shaper community from the World Economic Forum. So what we did is something quite similar. I just stepped down from that committee because I realized it's too much work from Bitget and my industry may need me to do. But basically, we started that project with some other global shapers from the World Economic Forum. And there were 6 of us who are co-founders, 4 females, 2 males. So I was also chatting with these 2 guys the other day. I asked them, this is a female-led or like a very obviously women empowerment project. Why do you want to be part of it? And they were like, why not? I think that's the spirit, right?
Yeah.
Because for them, they also want to see females like lean in. Maybe from a personal point of view, when they have a, the society have a stronger women, or if their other half, for example, if it's a woman and they were strong, that kind of burden, the burden on their shoulder from a family point of view is also lost a little bit, right? But that's I think that's a selfish point of view, but that makes sense. But I
Yeah.
think generally the key message here is why not,
Why
right?
not?
We want everyone to be part of it, not
Yeah.
just limited to a group of women who just talk to each other. We want the whole society to be in this wave.
I think that why not's a very good point because you're right. We want it to be ubiquitous and over periods. No one's going to ask where are the women because the women will be there, in equal numbers or numbers that don't stand out as being too many women, too many men. Really cool. Okay, so like I've almost asked my last question, but not quite. How do we judge? How do we define success? How do we measure when we are achieving gender diversity in Web3?
Mm, I think a few different matrices. For
Mm,
example, if we look at those data that we talk about again, we have achieved a more balanced representation of
mhm,
women, especially in leadership roles, in managerial roles. And we also want to see people have equal access to funding, and that leads to maybe a more equal ratio when we look at the female-led startups getting funding.
mhm.
And also we want to see elimination of the gender pay gap.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Yeah, so these are all big achievements that we want to do. But
Mm.
if you kind of like narrow it down a little bit or just quantify it, we can look at numbers again. So hopefully the next time we review those statistics or research that we have, we get to see a more gender diversified industry that Web3 is becoming.
Yeah. That pay gap is a huge thing, huge, and totally mad that it still exists, and that companies do not just issue, maybe they can anonymize it, but they issue, all the different salaries between the men and women. Mad. That is very interesting. Thank you very much for your time, Gracie. It's great to see you, Gracie, woman, very articulate. And I would like to come back this time next year and let's ask the same questions and see what's changed in the year. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your Twitter Spaces on Friday. I hope to join it for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.